Sad Dad Podcast. I'm Shan.
I am Eric.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Tucker.
Today we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2, Abby Day 3. And I'm getting excited because I think we're almost in the final stretch. We probably have, 3-4 episodes left? We'll probably find a way to stretch it into 8 because that's what we do here.
We're going to hit that sweet 30 episode count with this series. That's the goal, is we're going to twilight this nonsense, and we're going to take the last little bit and stretch it out as long as we can.
Wicked
like
Part 2.
Yeah. Wicked Part 2A and Part 2B.
Right.
Harry
4
Potter
movies.
7
Yeah.
times 2.
7.5 and 7.9.
We had some exciting news just yesterday. Naughty Dog just announced their next game, Intergalactic. And we're just frothing at the mouth over it because, just some of their token presentation skills and I don't know. It's just it's a sci-fi. It's got 80s vibes. It's Akira meets Cowboy Bebop, which I've never consumed that media, but I'm pretending that I know what I'm talking about. It reminds me of what's it?
Stranger Things in space.
It's Stranger Things meets
With
for me.
robots.
It's Stranger Things meets what's it called?
Dragon Ball Z.
No, Chris Pratt movie. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
The Chris Pratt movie,
Chris
which
Pratt
that
movie.
does not
Pratt
narrow
movie?
it down.
That's how...
Anyway, it's gorgeous looking. But it's probably
super
2-3 years out.
Well, yeah, super excited. And I mean, by the time this episode airs, this is not going to be new and exciting news
It's not
for
topical.
sure. But so that you know, at time of recording, the Game Awards were yesterday, and I was very bored for most of the time, right up until the very, very end. I don't know if you know this, but the Game Awards are super boring, interspersed with a couple of exciting moments. That new Ninja Gaiden game looks tight. Witcher 4, obviously very exciting. And then just a lot of shooters and anime booby games.
Yeah.
Not my jam.
They should get Neil Patrick Harris to host the Video Game Awards. They'd be better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Witcher
maybe
4
they're still so boring.
Witcher 4 just dropped the new culture war. Don't go online if you value your sanity. I'm not gonna get into it, but
I don't even want to know.
toxic gamer's gonna toxic game. So, that's not what we do here. That's not what we do here.
It's not Geralt. You play as Syrian. Yeah, well, that's a stupid reason. Siri rules.
It gets deeper than that, but I'm not going to get into it. Only positive vibes here.
Yeah.
But I was, like you said, frothing at the mouth about Intergalactic. And that's not, that was literal. I mean, I was watching the trailer for Intergalactic and I was drooling a little bit. I thought that it looks so, it looks how Starfield should have been, you know? I wanted Starfield so much to have some of that, gritty vibe to it, to have some throwback nostalgia in it. And
interesting characters or settings.
Yeah, compelling story.
Really just good things, you know? Yeah.
But Intergalactic
Maps,
looks so good. We were, and Shannon, we were geeking out in our texting chain about just the sounds in the trailer. And that's so real. When you can put together a trailer that immediately hooks me into the design elements of the game, I think you're onto something.
I've never been so stoked by a score at the end of a trailer than now on.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
So stay tuned for some time in the next 3 to 5 years when we cover that game. Yeah.
We'll be on episode 7,000.
Yeah.
We'll have 50 subscribers by then.
Ooh.
We will have done 5 Uncharted games, and well, it's just gonna be Naughty Dog between now and then. It's just Naughty Dog.
Maybe
all the way
that
down.
might give us enough time to work through at the pace that we're going. That might give us enough time to work through all of the Naughty Dog games. We should go back and do Crash Bandicoot and Jack and Daxter as well. Really pick those games apart. What's the story behind Crash Bandicoot?
Let's see if we can even get through all of Troy Baker's games. I'm working on Indiana Jones right now. He's 85% the way to doing a perfect Harrison Ford. It is uncanny. He has all the perfect idiolect and like inflection of a Harrison Ford. It brings me the warmth and nostalgia of those movies. It's uncanny.
Speaking of Starfield, because Todd Howard
Luke
worked
wants
on
to talk more about Starfield.
No, because Todd Howard worked on the new Indiana Jones, and he said he was initially reluctant about Troy Baker. He was really reluctant about
because he's in everything.
Because he's
because he's amazing.
But how he immediately backpedaled once he saw, actually, no, this is amazing. This is going to be just right. This is perfect.
Why question a good thing? You know?
Yeah, don't question a good thing.
Yeah, he could have played Abby and done a perfect job, right? He should have just played every.
Abby is not Troy Baker.
I feel way more ripped than Troy Baker, please.
I feel similarly about Troy Baker as I do about Jack Black, where it's like, I'll watch almost like, Jack Black's in it? Great, I'll watch that. It's like, Troy Baker's in it? Yeah, I'll play that. He does the Batman voice in like the Telltale series, and he's great. He did Joker before, so he's done Batman and Joker, and does such a great job with. He's amazing. I love Troy Baker.
All right, let's actually get to the point. Let's talk about The Last of Us. We'll probably have to cut out some of that. So
it's all good stuff. Game Awards and Troy Baker fanboying. It's perfect.
Yeah, Troy Baker was the bridge.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so at the beginning of this day, we are starting in the aquarium, and we. Let's see, what are we doing here? So Yara and Lev, we just cut off Yara's arm because she had compartmental syndrome or whatever.
Mel did. Frickin' Mel. Yeah. Chopping people's arms off for no reason.
And judging people, assuming the worst of Abby for some reason, trying to...
Yeah, the interaction Abby and Mel have here is...
Oh, Mel super hates Abby.
You do your thing, and then I've got some thoughts about it. Yeah.
And so she, like, I think Owen and Abby they have an aside here at the beginning, and Owen wants the kids to come to Santa Barbara, and I think that there's an ulterior motive here. I think that he wants the kids to come because he knows that Abby's attached to them, and he thinks, if I get the kids to come, I can get Abby to come, because I know that there's something awkward there, but that'll get them to come, and maybe it'll scare Mel away. So, win-win, lose, Mel being the one that loses, and that's what I want. So I win twice.
Also, Owen, you made your bed, so you have to lie in it now, literally, figuratively.
With Abby.
With Abby, yeah. I mean, it's complicated here. I read into that the same way, though, that it kind of seems like that's Owen's way of sweetening the idea to get Abby along.
Right. But alas, Lev doesn't want to leave for Seattle, and Lev wants to go back to the island to see his mom, because even though Lev's mom hates him, Lev still loves his mom and wants to protect her and wants to care for her. And it's very complicated.
Feelings.
Yeah, I think that this is like, I mean, especially at Lev's age, every teenager or preteen, or I'm not exactly sure how old Lev is, but you have like these times of agreeing with your parents and not agreeing with your parents, but you still... I can really empathize with Lev being like, knowing that he's done something that his mom is very much not okay with, but still wanting to like reach out to her and be like, no, we can't leave without mom. And then Yara, being a little older and a little bit wiser, is like, that's a bad idea. She mentions to Abby while they're chatting, she's like, I'm more like, because Abby is asking Yara, she's like, well, what do you think, why does Lev want to do this? Will your mom accept him? And Yara says, well, I'm more worried about what she's going to do to Lev. That like, she's so devout in her Seraphite faith that like, Yara's more worried about Lev going back to help her mom, because he's like, well, what's mom going to do to Lev when he gets there?
Yeah, this really bums me out. Just because it really brings up kind of this, I want to say like foster care type of situation. But you guys remember the scene in the episode of Breaking Bad, where there's that like redheaded kid that Jesse's taking care of, in that like in their like his like parents steal this ATM machine. This is kind of what it reminded me of.
Machine is redundant.
It's ATM machine.
It's an ATM machine.
A PIN number.
Put your PIN number in the ATM machine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it reminded me of this, of just like you have a child who has this attachment to a parental figure, and that's all they know. They know that is their parent. They are really attached to them. It doesn't really matter what they do. They want to be with that parent. And it really just breaks my heart for Lev that, later on we see that him and his mom get into a little bit of a scuffle that does not turn out great.
Just a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, it's really sad because I can definitely picture myself being like, okay, I've made a decision. I can't just abandon the people I love. I need to go and rectify it before I can even think about leaving.
Right. And Mel says that she's going to Santa Barbara, but not if Abby is going. And so kind of lays down this ultimatum of like, I am going to go get Owen for myself. And I'm okay with the kids going. Owen's a cool guy. He's really good with kids. But I hate you, Abby. And you're not a part of this family, this modern family that we've created here. And I think it's also like she's okay with the kids coming, even though she hates these Seraphite kids, or just hates them and hates Seraphites in general. But I guess she's not as like cold as other wolves tend to be. But it is sort of like it's like a vindictive move. It's like I hate Abby so much that I have to prove I'm a better person than her by taking over the children from her.
I think I agree with that, but I think not just only that is it's that she's playing the only card that she has. She's giving an ultimatum to both Owen and Abby. She's like, I want to move forward with Owen. And it's obvious that I can't do that with Abby around. And so it's like, I'll go, but only if you don't go. I'm sure she's told Owen this, or maybe she hasn't yet, but like, this is the thing. She's like, I've got to end this thing between Owen and Abby. And if I can't, then I need to leave. Like it can't be both, And I like this conversation that they have as well, because I know that the last couple episodes I've been talking about how the first time I played the game, I felt that there was a little bit of a narrative dissonance with Abby's actions and like, how could she, accept these scars? And I felt like maybe her journey was a little bit forced. And as I've been playing through it this time, I keep finding more and more nuggets of evidence to get rid of that previous thought that I had. And so another argument for justifying Abby's actions is when she's talking to Mel here, Mel gets really mad, gets in her face, and she says, "You're a piece of shit, Abby." And like gets really, who likes to be told that to their face? That's a bad thing. And so in this moment, I had a realization that this is like Abby's one of her last connections to the wolf group. And so the wolves symbolically are looking Abby in the face and saying, I hate you, right? We're done. I hate this. But then she has an interaction with Yara, either just before or just after this, where they're talking about, what's going on. And Yara goes, "You're a good person, Abby." And it gave me this contrast of just like, well, this is why it makes sense for Abby to be following or taking care of these Seraphite children, and why one of many reasons why she's shifting away from the wolves and towards these kids is because she's just feeling kind of burned by the wolves and shunned by the wolves, but she's being accepted by Lev and Yara and being told that she's a good person, which is something that she really needs.
I love Abby's reaction to that, because Yara says, "You're a good person," and Abby responds was, "You don't know me." And Yara's response is, "I know enough." And I just love that. I think that's just so true of so many things. We've all done shitty things in our lives, especially in this world. Abby's done a lot of terrible things, but that doesn't mean that she's a terrible person like Mel is labeling her. She has this redemption arc that we're playing through right now that I think I think Abby is actually a really good person, and she made a poor choice going after Joel, and how she handled the whole Joel situation that threw her off, and is now getting back to who Abby really is. And so I think, I agree with you, Eric. I think this interaction with Yara is where she's kind of putting the wolf Abby behind her and is moving forward with Abby.
Well, and all these poor choices spiral. I mean, one of the big tensions we deal with in this game is stepping into Abby's shoes when at the beginning of the game, playing it for the first time, she's the devil because she killed Joel. She's the worst. She's irredeemable. How dare you kill Joel because we love Joel so much. But us being able to see how these complicated people have their beloved qualities, that they have their own motivations for doing the things, and even when they make a bad decision, like we think killing Joel and going after Joel was a really bad decision, but the more you get to know Abby, the more you can kind of see how she was justified, at least to herself, in doing what she did. So the big overall tension in this game, talking about who's redeemable and who's not, who's a good person and who's not. Well, all of these people have done terrible things in the name of survival. And so what's your litmus test for what a good person is? And like you said, Tucker, I mean, we get to see Abby's redemption arc here. We get to see more of the person beneath some of the bad decisions that we've just been exposed to with Abby.
Yeah. Mel says that she doesn't believe Abby's being altruistic here, right? She doesn't believe that she's doing this because she actually cares about the children. She thinks she's doing it because she's manipulating Owen into looking like she's good with children because Owen likes children, and
I don't think Owen does like children.
Yeah, the way he treats Mel. You sure about that?
Yeah.
That was my Tim.
Maybe he does. Maybe he just doesn't like children that come out of Mel. Yeah.
Well, later he has like some banter in front of the children about like, this is my stuff, and he's not. I think he'd be good.
No,
with
I know. I'm being facetious, obviously, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. But Mel just keeps saying, keeps assuming the worst of Abby. And I just want to talk about this kind of cognitive bias in psychology called the halo effect. And it's this idea that if you already think something of somebody, like you think somebody is the worst of something or the best of something, you then assume everything that comes after is also the best or the worst, right? And an extreme hyperbolic example of this is for like Hitler, right? You already think
I'm going straight to the Hitler example.
It's the most hyperbolic, easiest, low-hanging
that was
fruit,
a fast jump.
Because it's the easiest example. You already think he's the worst person that ever existed, right? So halo effect. My mom, like at one point, she's like, well, he definitely practiced witchcraft. And I was like, what are you basing that on? It's like, well, it's like, he clearly did because he's the worst person. It's like, so you just assume he did that other thing because he also killed 6 million Jews? Like, that's a leap.
I'm going to Google it right now.
Yeah, it's a well-known fact that's what him and Ava, is that the other person that was in the bunker, that they were doing? They were playing with a Ouija board before he took his own life.
Yeah.
Before
so it's like,
Nazi Germany fell. Well-known fact, Shan.
It's these shortcuts in logic that you...
This is important. I just Googled it, and the second Google result is Witches, Werewolves, and Vampires. The Nazis' quest for ...
Ooh,
that seems like a good read. Hang on. Let me. Well, hang on. It's $1.99 to continue.
No,
it's not. It was an office jokes. Witches, Werewolves, and Vampires: The Nazis' Quest for the Supernatural. The ideology of the Nazis drew on theories of racial superiority, but blah 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 blah. And here's the recipe, like 5 pages.
This was the first Captain America movie. I already saw that.
Yeah. So like,
you all remember the witches and vampires in the first Captain America.
Clearly, he worshipped the devil. Because how else would he have done that, right? He couldn't have based it on like his fundamental white Christian nationalism. It couldn't have been based on anything Christian related that led him to these hyper ideologue awful conclusions that led to these genocidal thoughts, right? It had to be based on the worst things that I can conceive, which is worshiping the devil. So it's like, that is the worst example I can come up with for what a halo effect. And that's what Mel is doing to Abby. It's like, you're a piece of shit. So I know that you're manipulative. I know that you don't care about these kids. I know that you're doing all these things because you're a liar and blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of just like the epitome of why I hate Mel right now, is that she's just taking all these shortcuts in logic about Abby, and it's not really rooted in anything truthful. Like, at what point have we seen Abby be manipulative? She's not basing it on character. She's basing it on shortcuts. And that's what's annoying me about her.
Abby has been mildly manipulative in the past towards Owen. Nothing super crazy, but also like,
what does Mel know about that?
Well, yeah, but what does Mel know about that? That, like, I 100% agree. Mel's being a butthead. Mel, did you kill a rat king to get some medicine for a girl you just barely met? No, didn't think so.
No. So
why don't you get off your high horse?
As much as I hate Mel, I'm going to come to her defense here. I think the way that Abby got everybody to go after Joel was very manipulative. And I think that's what Mel is basing it off of. I think Mel is stuck with the whole Joel journey and then how she just obliterated Joel with a 9-iron. And so I think Mel is stuck there. That's the best defense I can come up with Mel. Still hate her. Still think she's the worst.
What was manipulative about it? They all knew that they were going there to kill Joel.
Well, we talked about it in a previous episode that Abby was a little manipulative towards Owen about getting him to go chase down Joel. How she like got everyone else on board. She got Isaac's approval, and then she kind of came to him like, "Yeah, you kind of have to." Like,
well, that towards Owen, yes, but not about everybody else. They were all on board for their own reason.
I don't know. They don't ever tell us.
Yeah, they don't. I'm assuming that. Yeah, Owen was close with Abby's dad, as were all of them. But I think Owen would need the littlest of manipulation to go with Abby because they were banging.
All right, so Abby's a piece of shit, but also Mel's a piece of shit. All right, that's established.
Well, Mel's a bigger. Mel would clog the biggest of drains.
Yeah.
Abby is a floater that's going to go down easy.
All right. So after this section, we then find out that Lev has kind of run off in the aquarium, and Lev starts giving exposition about Lev's backstory, and Abby says she doesn't really know everything, just kind of has had Lev's backstory intimated through previous interactions. And Yara talks about Lev having some dissonance with having been raised with the Seraphites and not feeling comfortable with the rigid roles and responsibilities that were being thrust on him at the time. Lev wanted to be a soldier and was to be married off, and at that inciting incident in Lev's life, then decided to shave his head and run off. And Yara was upset at this time, just like all the Seraphites, right? Yara was very orthodox in her practice of religion, got very angry, lashed out, attacked Lev, and she expresses a lot of guilt about this. I really like her acting in this section about like how painful that was to her, and the remorse that she feels in lacking empathy and humanity for Lev. And I really felt like there was a lot of sincerity. And so I don't know. I just like, what do you think about this section? And like, what is Yara doing for Abby in this section, and what kind of like ground is this setting for Abby moving forward?
I think it's important for Abby to have more insight to a little bit more of Lev and Yara's backstory and their history together, because as they move forward, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, that it's important for Abby to understand specifically where Lev is coming from, so that she can be there for him in the future. And I think that's true of all relationships. It's important to know where you came from so you can know where you're going.
I also think, so one of the reasons why I love theater so much is it gives you the chance to step in other people's shoes and learn about them. And as you learn about other people, it expands your own humanity. We learn about these people's humanity, it will inevitably educate our own and expand our own. And so I think it's critical for Abby to learn more about Lev and to build this relationship, because I think it's also a way for Abby. It's part of her exodus away from the orthodoxy under which she has been, and an orthodoxy that she sees as also toxic and oppressive in its own ways. I think it's important for her shaping her own humanity and grounding herself again into what she really believes in, what's important to her. I think this whole relationship with Lev puts her in someone else's shoes and really grounds her in a new expanded humanity. I don't know if I said that as well as I wanted to, but
yeah, the most concise that I could maybe articulate it is that Yara is almost foreshadowing the journey that Abby has to make, because right now Abby is very closed. Well, she has been closed off and she lacks compassion and empathy for the Seraphites, and to complete her part of her character journey and to fully endear herself to Lev and to Yara, she has to find compassion and humanity in Lev. And we see by the end of this section she gets there, and so like I feel like Yara talking about her history foreshadows what Abby has to go through. It's not one to one, but it's similar in that she doesn't understand them and she has to get there. And when she does, she's ready to move on and be there for Lev.
Yeah, and that was the word I couldn't think of, Shan, was empathy. That's what I think they both really gain from this. Abby in particular, is we're seeing her build that reservoir of empathy, which will ultimately be critical.
Mm-hmm. Right. So also in this section in the aquarium, as you're walking along, you get a delightful little interaction with Alice. You get to play with a dog toy. You get to throw it around. I probably threw it maybe 6 times because I felt like it was a requirement to do it at least that many times.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
She's such a good girl. Alice.
Yeah, I was trying to throw it as far away as possible, like try to get it stuck in the rafters, and that toy is magical and it will get through anything and come back to the ground.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the first time Yara throws it, she doesn't throw it very far, so she must have a bad arm.
Yeah, I think you kind of need like the momentum of 2 arms, right? You need to kind of throw yourself into it.
Yeah.
So being a
there goes her baseball career.
Yeah.
It's all in your hips.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that Yara's wearing old world clothes in this section? I couldn't remember she was wearing them before.
They changed. Abby comments on it. She goes, "Nice shirt." So they must have changed her after she got.
But I thought that was really interesting because that's going so far against the Seraphite of putting old world things behind them. Because there's really no I guess justification outside of I'm no longer believing this part of the Seraphites doctrine, whatever you want to call it.
They're constantly tugging at each other, right? Like Abby is pulling the Seraphites to where she's at, and they're pulling her up. So like they're going to kind of meet in the middle to the point where she's lifted up and like she's kind of abraded down their more orthodox and rigidity, and they kind of meet in the middle, and they're at peace and they find harmony in that, right? It's beautiful. But I was wondering, it's like, okay, so this is a beautiful interaction and we get to see a little humanity in Yara, but I didn't realize the necessity of this scene until the end of the day when you see Alice dead when you return to the aquarium. And I was like, oh, that's why you have to play with Alice. They had to remind you that this dog was there, and they had to make you love it one last time so that it's heart-wrenching when you see it dead. Oh, okay. Now I remember why.
Gotta set up that gut punch. Yeah.
So mean, naughty dog. It's a low blow.
It's a naughty dog.
It's a naughty dog.
That's good writing, though. It was really well done. Yeah. Got to give more perspective so that like it's like, oh cool, I killed the dog in one scene. Oh, now it really sucks in this perspective. They always have to give you both perspectives.
Well, you also see Alice, like when Yara and Lev first show up, you see Alice barking at them because they've got a bow up on her, and and you kind of just saw another aggressive side of Alice just recently. And so now that you get to see that the dog is just a dog, and Lev has mentioned,
toy.
yeah, a little purple octopus toy, and Lev has had that side comment where he says, "I don't like dogs," and there's maybe more to that than we even get the backstory of, but
because the dogs have been trained to like attack the scars
Right.
all their lives. They've
Yeah.
never seen a good side of these dogs.
yeah, they've never had like a dog as their own domesticated animal. They've always just been attack tools.
Yeah. All right. So then they jump down into like the gift shop, and they get.
Before we get to the gift shop, oh my gosh, go kill yourself, Eric.
Whoa. All I did was roll my eyes at Tucker. That was unwarranted.
So, a little bit of, I guess, world building thing I noticed is there's a map in the aquarium that has the West Coast, a lot of it underwater. I don't know if you guys noticed this map. I don't know if it's global warming because the East Coast looked pretty normal. But also it makes a lot of sense because when you go to the Seraphite Island, the Space Needle's on the Seraphite Island, which is not the Space Needle's on an island.
I did not notice that. That's crazy. I did not pick that up.
Yeah, that the West Coast is super flooded. For some reason, maybe there's a super rat king in the Pacific that just raised the.
Have you seen the West Coast? It's
levels.
super flooded.
I just feel like that's such a big thing that I just completely missed.
Yeah, I didn't see it either till I looked at the map and I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then when I went to the island, I'm like, oh, and then that makes sense why there's all these rivers and crap going through Seattle.
Where is the Space Needle on the Seraphite Island?
When they first land, they're like, oh, we have to go towards that big thing. And Abby's like, the Space Needle? And
what? Why don't I remember this at all? I'm going to Google it.
Yeah. It's like right when you land.
I played this like a few days ago.
I definitely didn't notice the map.
I saw the map. I just didn't think about it.
I didn't think about how the West Coast would be. I guess that makes sense. Not thinking about it from a climate change perspective necessarily, but I mean, a whole ton of crumbling infrastructure, all the levees and the dams that have been built up around
cities. This is a
cities
Katrina situation.
Okay,
but like,
I don't remember any levees and stuff in Seattle.
But in Seattle,
have you ever driven your Chevy to the levee? But the levees were gone.
The levees were dry.
Oh my gosh, is that how they got to Seattle?
You drove your Chevy to the levee. I don't know how I did not make the connection that that's the Space Needle. They like pointed that tall thing, and I was like, I just thought it was like a really big water tower or something. But no, it's totally the Space Needle. I'm pretty
sure Abby says, "You mean the Space Needle?" I think that's her like exact line.
Listen, we all get one. There was Shan. I don't remember what, but Shan had a hilariously. He didn't realize that Shimmer was like the same horse in both scenes, and they like call her by name. So this is my Shimmer moment. That
I've had so many
missed
of
the
these.
Space Needle.
Yeah. I can have some of the most perspicacious talking points now, but when I first played the game, it all went over my head. I didn't absorb any of this information.
I mean, just wait until they get to Panama. That canal's a mess in the post Fall of the World. So
yeah, you thought the Suez Canal disaster was an issue. Wait till you get to the Panama.
All right. So anyway, then you jump into the shop, and then you get like an otter or whatever.
A shark.
Shark. Yeah, that's right.
A stuffed shark. Because Lev likes sharks, but not dogs.
And then Owen comes in, banters, because he's trying to impress Abby about how good he is with kids, because he really wants her to come to Santa Barbara with these children. And it fails because the Seraphites don't understand what sarcasm and joking is, because they are very unfunny community, I guess.
Just like that Chris Pratt movie, there's an alien in there who takes everthing literally.
What's that one Chris Pratt movie? What is it? It'll come
Guardians
to me.
of the Galaxy.
This reminds me, I had a German exchange student, and he was like 16 and we were.
I remember him.
Did you take all your jeans?
Were you around at that time?
Yes, I remember him. We were eating that chocolate. We were making Himbeernacht. Remember?
Himbeernacht and he came when, I think it was before your time, but like he came back to visit and you were
Yes, I was around for that, but I think the first go around I wasn't around for.
Yeah. So Mikhail Salman, he when he was around, he told us that like it's a stupid anecdote. He just told us that like Germans didn't have sarcasm, so he didn't understand it in Germany, and I believed it for the longest time.
Yeah, I'm like, Germans absolutely.
That is very, very clever of him.
But I was a kid. How was I supposed to understand that? I was like 12 years old.
Just take it all at face value. He's like, yeah, no, Germans don't understand sarcasm. He told me so.
I think our entire family
That's not-
believed him.
That's not funny. Yeah, why is that funny?
That's great.
Well, Luke, this is funny. I was just in Switzerland, like in August or whatever, to see Taylor Swift because it was cheaper to fly out there.
Switzerland?
That's why we went out there. It's because we came up with the pun. I was like, well, obviously that's the country we're going to.
Obviously, this is the only place to see Taylor Swift.
Anyway, so like we were in Luzerne, and I saw a pastry, and it said Imbert, and I was like, why is that word so familiar to me? And I sat on it all day. I was like, Imbert, how do I know this word? And by the end of the day, I was like, Imbernacht. Oh, I learned this word like 10, 15 years ago with Luke because we made this stupid drink called Imbernacht.
Stupid drink.
Yes. And it was like, what? It was like raspberry night.
Yeah.
Something.
And
Was it raspberry?
Yeah, and it was basically just Kool-Aid, what we made. I mean, it was just fancy Kool-Aid.
Yeah, raspberry, Imbier.
Yeah.
Or we're probably saying it wrong, Imbier. I don't know. But
Tucker and I have inside stories too that Luke and Shannon are not a part of. Tucker, remember that one time where it was just the two of us? We did cool things. Screw these other guys.
We got fancy grape Kool-Aid.
Yeah, friggin' normal other
Grape
Kool-Aid
Doc?
is dumb. Yeah, call it Grape Doc. You guys remember Grape Doc? Just me and Tucker though, not you guys.
I remember. Never mind.
Getting off the rails a little bit.
Anyway, so Yara takes off, and Abby says she's not going to Santa Barbara, and he says why, and she's like, you know why, and Owen says it's messy, but they deserve to be happy, and why doesn't Abby just tell him about Mel's ultimatum? Like, what's her motive here for keeping that?
I think she probably, I mean, it's Mel's place to tell Owen that, right? I think that maybe Abby is really not trying to step on toes, even though she probably really wants to, because Mel's a butt and she loves Owen.
So I think Abby does. She tells Owen to get his priorities straight.
Well, she doesn't say that it's because of Mel. That's coming from her, but she doesn't say it's because Mel told me to say that.
Well, yeah, I know, but I think Abby legitimately is like, no, you need to go with Mel. Like, get your shit together, Owen.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be a baby daddy. Get your priorities straight. Like,
but it's not
she's
because
done with Owen,
right? But it's not I think if Mel hadn't like said, "Don't come to Santa Barbara," she might have come. She got really mad just a few minutes ago, and she's like, she probably would have gone because the kids are going. And she's like, don't go, because if you go, I'm not going. She would have gone. But now she's like, okay, I can't go because I have to, it's in the best interest of the kids to be with all of them. It's better for them. She doesn't want to break
up the family.
Right.
And also, Abby doesn't have a super high opinion of herself. She probably thinks that Lev and Yara would be better off without her.
And she just got told she's a shitty person by Mel. I think her not saying Mel told me not to come, I think her withholding that information from Owen is her pretending to herself that she is a better person. She's not trying to cast aspersions on Mel and turn Owen against her. I think this is her trying.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe I did a poor job of explaining myself there. Yeah, I think she gets to the same end as throwing Mel under the bus, but does it out of her own volition of like, no, like this is coming from me and not just because Mel said this.
She's trying to be altruistic, pretending it's altruistic.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so then we see that Lev has taken off and they decide to go after them, and Owen wants to go to the island too, and Abby then once again says, get your priorities straight, stay here. And this is like the last thing that she says to Owen. This kind of hurts, right? Like, she then comes back later and Owen is dead. I thought that, like, does it matter that this is the last thing that she says to Owen?
I mean, she's pretty upset when she comes back. She doesn't care about Mel, which we can talk about a little bit, because she just quickly glazes over Mel's body and goes straight to Owen.
I do think Abby's trying to do the right thing when she says that to Owen. Yeah, she's angry and she's going through a lot of things, but I think her telling Owen to get his priorities straight, I think she is trying to do the right thing. And she's trying to tell Owen to do the right thing. And how could Abby have known that she was going to come back and find them dead, right? I mean, that I think just makes it extra painful for Abby, because in a way, her saying that to Owen is also her pushing Owen away, and only to come back to find him dead. I think that makes it extra painful.
Yeah, this really kind of tripped me up, this thought, because Abby's going to the Seraphite Island, where I think the probability of death is decently high. You're going into enemy territory, and it's you, a girl with one arm, and a kid with a bow. Like, does not bode well. And so, part of me is thinking, like, okay, she is really done with Owen. It doesn't really matter what her last words to Owen are. But then when she comes back and is visually just really emotional about the whole thing, and it throws me off. It's okay, is she really done with Owen? Is she not?
But I like, off of what you were saying, Tucker, I think emotionally, of course, she still loves and feels for Owen. I really do think she's trying to do the right, in quotations, I think she's trying to do the right thing by Owen.
So I don't think that she's saying, get your priorities straight because it's Owen that needs to figure his shit out, right? I think she's saying get your priorities straight because she needs to get her priorities straight, and she's putting it on Owen. She's taking it out on Owen what she really should be taking out on herself. So it's like a deflection thing or a projection. And she has been putting down Owen for 4 years now. It's always been, you're my number 2 priority because I want to kill Joel and I want to train to kill Joel. And this is the first time that she has ever put Owen second because her priority is the children. So it's actually her getting her priorities straight and putting Owen second for the right reasons. And that's actually fantastic growth for her character.
Yeah, same outcome, but right intent.
Exactly. Now her intentions are correct and they are aligned, which means that she is growing and she's almost there.
Also learning that negging works for 4 years. Because Owen's still super Abby.
Owen dies with blue
I like
balls,
your shirt, but I'd like it more if you had better hair. All right, so then you go to find a boat and you get into a Tommy encounter, which he's a fantastic shot. Best shot in the game. I don't know why I'm doing this. This. I was just so excited I didn't know what to do with my body. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole game.
Right?
I love this part. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole game. And the years looking back on it, it's one of the parts that sticks out most in my mind. And I have a couple things that I want to say, but I don't want to talk forever. So Shan, if you had a structure, go do that, and then I'll jump in when I've got stuff to say.
I mean, I kind of left it open-ended. I just put Tommy encounter. I'm going to put it.
Oh, great. Well, I'll talk about it then. So
all right, go for it, Eric.
I love this part because, especially the first time playing the game, this part is so impactful because you get into this situation and then you bump into Manny, and I was just so stoked. I'm like, yes, I love Manny. Manny is my boy. I love seeing Manny again. So excited. Raise your hand if you love Manny. Everybody loves Manny.
I love every character in this game.
They're all so good.
Except Mel. Except Mel.
Mel plays her role. But she plays her role, right? Yeah. But I love this part because it's just, you are pinned down by this incredibly accurate and oppressive sniper. and it starts in like kind of an open-ish area where you have to dodge and weave between cars, and then you get inside of a building, and it's more about like finding cover and crawling under things. So the way that the encounter evolves is pretty organic, but it's just this faceless sniper is keeping you pinned down hard, and it only takes like 1 or 2 shots to kill you, I guess, depending on your difficulty. If you're ungrounded, it's probably just 1 shot and you're gone. But like, it's this really tense, incredibly, and it just makes you like, ooh, I freaking hate this guy. Like, oh my God, oh, I hate this guy. I'm just going to smash him. I get punch him in the face. I get so mad at him. And then I feel like I'm stealing thunder. I don't want to just, and then like right as you're about to, like you get close to this guy, you and Manny go to push open a door, and just right in front of you, Manny's face gets turned inside out by the sniper, and your blood starts to boil, and you are like, that was the last straw. I have had it with this sniper. I have never been so mad at another game. Like, I'm just furious, just like ready out, like seeing red,
Keeps
out for blood.
The stakes. Yeah.
Yes.
Keeps accelerating.
Just so ready to kill this guy.
One thing I love about this encounter is when the sniper is shooting glass and cars to lure infected towards you.
So
love
cool.
that mechanic. Yeah, super cool, super smart. But I had a note here. Just Manny's death mirrors Jesse's death so closely.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just so sudden, so anticlimactic.
You don't have any time. It just happens.
No time. And
Well, you're just not expecting it. Yeah, it just, yeah.
Yeah. I that's what I wrote too. Manny is shot unceremoniously. It's like, I feel like this portray. I've never had somebody shot in front of me, honestly. I don't know if anybody else here has.
You should try it, Shan. It's a great experience.
Luke, are you raising your hand to say that you have had someone be shot right in front of you?
Yeah. Didn't you serve a mission? Like, didn't you? Because that's where I saw someone get shot.
Actually, no, man, I served in Canada. Everyone's super nice in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Catching stray sorries.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry there.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I don't have to tell these stories, but yeah, I definitely have. It was surprising and shocking and gruesome, and
but
I can't imagine Abby. Like, I can't. Well, I don't know. My instinct in that moment wasn't like rage, blood, boil. Also, it was a stranger. Like, the person who got shot was someone I didn't know, so that probably changed things too. But even then, it was just like petrifying, paralyzing. I turned around and hightailed.
Right.
Oof.
But like, you figure, okay, like you grew up and the only context by which you've seen people get shot is in movies and television where there's perfect blocking and framing and it's overacted, and it's like Marion Cotillard in The Dark Knight Rises where she kind of like overacts, like it's like it's
the best on-screen death ever.
She chews up the scenery. It's oh gosh, that's one of the most lambasted deaths in all of movie history. It's so bad, right? But like, you expect it to be so much like it, you expect it to be a celebrated death because the character was so fantastic, and it's like, no, honestly, it's like this person was nothing to the to the person that shot them, so why should it be anything other than just like they're dead, right? And like, that's what The Last of Us does to these people. It's like, they're nothing in the grand scheme of things. When they're dead, they're dead. Move on. And I love that it does that.
Yeah, it shows the fragility of life in this terrible world, which is just, I don't know, it's a really cool reminder of just the stakes of the characters in this. It's just, yeah, you feel like a superhero for most of the game, but then there's moments like this that bring you back down to earth of just like, oh, it could all end in a flash, a muzzle flash, if you will.
Oh, in a muzzle flash.
I love the extreme close-up that they do on Abby's face, like her countenance, like she's all drenched in blood and she's starting to shake. Like, this is the most frangible we've ever seen her character. She's starting to really shake, and she's starting to like really lose her composure. Like, we've never seen her like this. This is fantastic.
And I love because you can kind of watch her face transform a little bit from like scared to like survival mode. She's like, okay, now I have to get out of here. And then, so right after this, then she goes and she's like, I've got this guy on the run. He's just about pinned down, and she tries to go find him. And so you're chasing after this guy, the person that just murdered probably Abby's best friend, that just murdered your best friend in front of you in a very violent and upsetting manner. and then you're going to chase down this guy, your blood's boiling, you're just ready, like out for blood, and then you grab him and it's Tommy. And I just like, the first time I played this game, that moment caught me so off guard. I promise you, I'm not exaggerating. I paused the game and I like heaved a little bit because I was sick to my stomach. And like that moment upset me so much that I was like, oh, I don't feel good. Like it was a real like chemical reaction inside of my body that was just like, that just brought it all back down so quickly, that this person that I hated was actually a different side of a character that I love. And it just was, it's one of the best moments in all of this game because it illustrates this point so perfectly of different people, of different perspectives. That from Ellie's perspective and from our usual perspective, Tommy is a hero and he's a nice guy. But from Abby's perspective, he's a murderous psychopath. Like, and it made me physically sick for a minute. Like I had to take a second.
Yeah, you're like Caitlin Olsen being Sweet D and It's Always Sunny. Just
she gets up to do the stand-up routine and she's like, and then you go exactly like that. Yeah.
Everybody loses their lunch later in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I as far as this encounter goes, I love that this is like a callback to the first game. In the suburbs, we had a sniper shootout, and this one you're even more vulnerable. There are not very many places to hide, so you have to go on the lurch very often. You just have to straight up like book it between cars. There's no cover for that. And then the restaurant, they straight up subvert your expectations. This is like when you are having the encounter with David and you think that the cannibal's going to come for you and then rape and kill you. And nope, it turns out that there's nothing in this restaurant. Tommy does not come in and swipe at you. You just have to go through the door and there's it's not even a quick time event. He just like you get into fisticuffs and you throw him overboard. It's just like a great subversion all the way down this entire sequence. And it was really funny, right? Like the first time I played this game, it's on PS4, probably maxing out at 720p or something. It just like low resolution. So like I had no idea this was Tommy. Now I'm playing it on OLED on PS5 Pro and I'm playing it remastered. It's like, this is so obviously Tommy. I can spot him from like across the way. I know this is Tommy all the way from beginning to end as soon as I start chasing him.
And I think if you go into the encounter knowing that it's Tommy, you can see the silhouette and be like, that looks like Tommy. But if you're not expecting...
Yeah, you see the jean jacket and... Yeah.
I don't know, but even still, if you're not expecting to see Tommy, then I think it would be pretty easy to just like, in the franticness of the situation, to just not notice, you know?
I could very...
Because the first time I played it was on PS5, is 4K, and I played the game 4K, 30 frames,
doesn't go
and
to
I didn't
4K.
notice it at all. The first time I played it, it did. When it had done a PS5 patch update in 4K.
No, it went up to 60 frames per second on the patch, but I don't think it went up to 4K.
I'm going to Google it because I'm pretty sure it did. But either way, the first time I played this game was on a PS5 and I didn't notice it was Tommy.
Like even the remaster that just came out now goes up to 4K with PSSR upscaling, but I don't think that the original could even come close to 4K upscaling.
Shan, are you the type of person who, as you're watching a movie for the first time in the movie theater, you guess the ending halfway through and then you ruin it for the people who go to the movie with you?
I actually very intentionally try not to think about how movies end, and I like to be surprised.
Good.
There's the very rare exception where it's like it just like I like try to clear out my brain. I let the movie entertain me, and then sometimes like the movie just like the ending just comes to me. I was like, I wasn't even trying to think about it. Why did my brain let me think of the ending? And it ruins it for me. I was like, thanks a lot, brain.
Stupid brain.
Stupid brain, you ruined it.
You ruined it. You ruined it. I'm with Eric though. Like I had no idea this was Tommy the first time. That it was
the
quite
first
a
time was
reveal.
very surprising. It was incredible.
It was a total reveal. Yeah.
I was like, how did you not think? Like afterwards, I was like, how did you not think about it? Like he's the sniper that like he trains Ellie with the rifle and
right?
stuff. they set it up perfectly.
They set it
It's
up
right
perfectly.
there. Yeah.
Well, and there are other sniper encounters, right? Like this isn't the first time we've encountered a sniper that's effing up your day and ruining your. So I think they do it. They do a really good job of making it seem like it's just going to be another one of those really intense sniper encounters.
There's also probably no way you would have connected it the first time you played the game, but also when you were playing Ellie Day 3 and you're with Jesse and Jesse goes off to find Tommy and you go off to the aquarium to find Abby. I think that's because Jesse and Ellie hear the shooting and you think that and Jesse thinks that that's Tommy, and I think that's the shootout.
And it was Tommy. It was Tommy shooting Manny in the face. Yeah.
Ooh.
So like they do foreshadow it. It's just like how could you have possibly known that? I just made the connection this time as I was thinking out the timeline.
Well, and that's another, just really quickly, because I think we probably should keep moving, but I love how the rain and the thunderstorm gets progressively worse as day 3 goes on, because it's a great, like, in the back of your mind connection between like, oh yeah, this is happening at the same time as like, I played this day as Ellie. And so when you hear the rain and the thunder, when it gets really bad, you can like, it can kind of help you place things on a timeline and be like, oh, when I was Ellie, I was doing this. And now that I'm Abby, I'm doing this. And it's like, you can kind of see how far or close Abby and Ellie really were to each other. It's a good like narrative connection in the back of your brain. Yeah. Similar to the church bells in the Last of Us Part 1, but with when Joel is looking for Ellie.
Timeline syncing, right? This is just like Inception when you have the clocks and you have the different like Hans Zimmer, right? Like the genius of his scoring in that movie.
Hans Zimmer, am I right?
Am I right? He also did it again in Dunkirk.
Dunkirk was so good.
Oh, I haven't watched
Christopher Nolan references this episode. We got The Dark Knight, we got Dunkirk, we got Inception.
How many more can we fit in?
Yeah.
All of them.
Marion
Interstellar.
Cotillard exposes herself a number of times in that movie. Well, that's an Office reference, but
still counts. Yeah,
it's incredible.
I mean, it doesn't, but.
All right, so then you take off to the island in the boat with Yara to go find Lev, and I love how they've set up this island. I love the Seraphites with their cabins and how it tells the story of like who these Seraphites are, and it immediately it's evocative of like what their religion is and what they believe and how they eschew all things of the old world. And it's just like very great at world building, even though we're only there for this one scene.
I would love to live there. It looked like such a baller place to be. It's like just peaceful camping, no infected around. Yeah. You have the occasional, religious, deboweling, but
and zealotry.
Listen, if that's the price you have to pay to have a nice, relaxing cabin, you got to disembowel someone every once in a while. That's not so bad. Yeah.
Exactly. I love some of the encounters here. It's a little tedious sometimes because like they have
so many of them.
Right, there are so many Seraphites and they have so many vantage points.
Well, it is their home island.
Here's the question that I want to ask: how many of these encounters are you able to just leave, Shan? Can you just leave any of them?
Yeah. All right, are you ready for this?
Let's hear the count.
So the farm right before you get to see Lev's 11 Yara's mom, I killed one of them. I all the way snuck around the entire farm settlement, and then I popped one of them in the head, and then I just like walked past, and I was done.
You just left.
And then Jesse was like, "Do you think she's going to keep the baby?"
And then another one, I think I killed like 2, and I was able to just kind of like walk around the perimeter. So it's like there's a couple where I had to take down up to 3, but I never took down all of them.
I mean, Tucker...
Not me. There wasn't a Seraphite alive. I kill all of them.
Okay, I was going to say, I just assumed that Tucker on easy mode had all the...
okay.
Just took everything down.
I just went in, no ammo, just all
no
fisticuffs.
Yeah. Punched everyone out.
Yeah.
Ka-ching. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of
Wait,
body dropping in the cornfield.
Nice.
Yeah,
This
the
is
cornfield is
one
my
of
favorite place.
So this is one of, as a second playthrough of this game, this is one of my favorite areas because I've been very sneaky and stockpiling ammo and gear. And that I know that at the end of this part that all of that gear goes away. And so this is me just cutting loose. I'm coming in with like shotguns. I've got like a crossbow in one hand and a flamethrower in the other hand. And I'm just running through and I'm killing everybody. Like no survivors. Just straight murder everywhere I go. Trail of bodies. Joel would be proud.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right. I don't remember at what part, but I wrote down here that there was like a moment where they were, I think it's Lev or Yara refers to like how the Seraphites have, that they're demons, right? And that's part of the Seraphite mythology and their religion. And the cynical part of me has thought that this was like a funny religious trope where like I imagine like a prophet creating a religion and they are like they're creating their cult following of people, and they start looking around the world and they're like, what about that? How does this, like, does that prove that our religion is correct? And they're like, yeah, as a matter of fact, that also proves that our religion is correct. What about that? Does that prove our religion is correct? Yeah, that also proves
now that you mention it.
Now that, and so it's like, yep, the infected, that's also part of our religion. Yep, they're demons, and that also proves that I'm correct.
I just straight up had Halo vibes, like Halo 3 vibes of just the Covenant calling Master Chief the demon, and so that's
the demon.
And
then their heads exploded to confetti.
Yeah. Exactly. So I was really hoping that Seraphite's head would just explode in confetti as I, headshot him with a silenced pistol, but
not so lucky.
Not so lucky. I didn't collect that skull yet.
Abby really could have used a needler. That would have come in handy.
Can we take a break for behind the scenes here? We should do the Halo trilogy on this show, right? I forget that'd be great. Totally. Let's do Halo sometime, you guys. Anyways, back to The Last of Us. I haven't thought about Halo in a while, and I forgot how much I like Halo.
I just played everything up to Infinite a year and a half. No, when Infinite came out, it is a romp. Other than when like 343 took over and like 4 just straight up sucks, and 5 redeems itself barely. But
see,
I liked Infinite.
Yeah. I did not like 5 at all, but I had a pretty decent time with 4. Not its best, but I had a decent time with 4.
Straight up, the level design is at its absolute worst. The lore is okay, but like that's when they talk about like the holy trinity of like game design in the original, where it's like you can only run and you can melee and you can grenade, and the balance was perfect. So that it was a perfect balance of like running and killing and whatever. And when they took out the ability, like when you're not always running, it completely destroyed the balance. And so you could like run past enemies or
you could just leave.
You could just leave, right? And so because of that, they had to start locking doors in front of you so that they trapped you inside of rooms and forced you to confront all of the enemies. That's what 4 did. And so every single room, you just like get locked in a room and you have to fight everybody. And that's where I realized like the entire game design just like got destroyed because of this like lock-in room mechanic. And then 5 kind of fixed that, where like they try to balance that where you can kind of run past them, and they balance the enemies such that like they are strong enough that you have to confront them. You can't run all the way past. But it's a hodgepodge mess. Like the game design and the balance is all wonky and stuff. And then Infinite figured it out where you just incentivize people to go into battle. That's where you balance it. It's like you just give people like, you give them things that they want inside of areas that they want to go into. to kill everybody.
Very loud truck outside of my house. Sorry
Eric, do you
about
live
that,
on
everybody.
a drag strip?
No, I just farted. That's what that was. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll probably just take all of this out. It's not interesting.
Yeah, drop a pin here in case we don't
Drop
want
all
to talk
of it.
about Halo forever.
All right. So anyway, after all this traversal of the Seraphite Island, then you get to finding Lev inside of the hut or cabin or whatever. I just love how the lighting plays off of the logs and the wood,
All the
and,
different
like,
textures.
the physical. Yeah, the textures. Like, this is just some like mastery in physical based rendering and what they've accomplished here in this game, and indirect lighting. It's just, I love this stuff.
The devs use a lot of like the Seraphites. It's really warm lighting. It's a lot of fires and fire burning lanterns and stuff like that. So whenever you're in a Seraphite area, even like in the previous day when you're on the scaffolding crossing between buildings, it's a lot of like warm orange lighting, which you don't really see a lot of other places in the game. Wolves, it's obviously like light bulbs. It's very like white light, industrial lighting, and then the Seraphites, it's very warm. And so it's a nice contrast between like the kind of the technological advancements of the wolves and then the more naturalistic vibe of the Seraphites. And they even little things like the lighting communicate that to the player. And I think I agree. The nice warm lighting in the Seraphite areas, particularly in this area, is really well done.
I love how this contrasts with, like, say, the wolves encampment. Like, it's very like earth tone, neutral, like militaristic tones. Whereas this, I don't know, I love that every community's encampment or community has like its own palette that really captures the essence of what that community's tone is. And there's almost like a warmth to the Seraphites, but like almost like an underlying danger, or I don't know how to put it, but like you can feel it when you see it.
It's like inviting and spooky at the same time.
Yeah. It's incredible how they found that.
It's like Tucker said. I mean, it actually looks like a really nice place to live. I mean, if you can overlook your zealot neighbors, it'd be a really great place to stake your flag.
Yeah, so at this point, walking in really reminded me of Abby's dreams on walking into her dad. I don't know if you guys got that same vibe of where, yeah. So I think there's a lot of mirroring in this section between Manny's death, between walking in, and seeing what she went through from a third party's perspective. Do you guys think Abby starts to question her decision to go after Joel in this moment? Because I think she does. I think she sees the aftermath of it from a third party, sees the trail of destruction that got there, and now is living is now dealing with the consequences of that, and is regretting, maybe not the decision to go after Joel, but maybe she is. But
I don't know that she's questioning it now. She needs to see what continuing the escalation or continuing vengeance looks like, and then she has to question it.
Like, this just felt like a very pivotal point for Abby, like just her emotions in this section.
I think I agree with you in that it tethered her even more to Lev and Yara, seeing that, like, because she comes into this scene with Lev, who, well, I guess you don't see Lev right away. You come to the scene, Yara's like, this is our mom's house, and you come inside and you find Lev and Yara's mom's body. And so obviously something bad has happened. And then you turn around and you look and you see Lev kind of huddled up in a corner. And this is an experience that brings Abby even closer to Lev and Yara. And so I'd agree that I think her emotions are heightened here because this is an important key moment for her relationship with those characters.
So Yara says to Lev, like, you did nothing wrong, you were just defending yourself. And so I got a little bit of the vibe of, like, Abby is second guessing maybe Joel's motivations. Like, oh, was Joel just defending himself, and that I did something wrong? Again, it could be just
Joel wasn't defending himself. Joel was defending Ellie's self. Yeah,
He's just defending Ellie.
Yeah. But which is
it's interesting, I think, thought of just, oh, is she starting to see the Joel side of things in a little bit of a different light, where Lev had to kill his own mom out of self-defense.
I think I like that thought process in the light of like a post Rat King Abby, where we see that the Rat King symbolizes her
like a post nut clarity. It's clarity.
The post Rat King clarity. You know, that once she's kind of conquered that like demon within herself, the representation of that rat that the Rat King had for like that demon inside of her, that after that, I think that she's probably more likely to be able to make those connections and see maybe the potential errors in her past actions. So I like that thought. I have to think more on that, but I like that thought.
Yeah. This is it's a very short scene, but it's very complicated. They don't dwell on it too much, but there's like a lot of
well, because there's a war zone, they got to move.
Yeah, you gotta go.
But there's a lot of variables here to like plant the seeds for growth for Abby, and for Lev moving forward, and we see Yara here. I mean, that's her mom too, right? But seeing her mom, she's still focused on Lev and if Lev is safe and okay, and runs to Lev. And whereas, you know, you have to try to play out this encounter with Lev coming home and excited to see his mom and thinking that he'd be welcome home and be embraced, and instead finding his religiously zealot of a mom immediately angry and coming at, like, I there was probably zero time between seeing Lev and running at him to the point where it's just bam, down and dead, and just like the confusion and disorientation that Lev felt in that moment was so immediate and egregious, and I just like the isolation and pain that Lev feels within 24 hours, loses his mom and community, and Yara is like among the most painful of any character between both games, loses everything. And it's very subtle, it's very short, but it's still really well acted, and Yara demonstrates a lot of humanity here in ignoring her mom and running to Lev, and demonstrating the difference between her and her mom. And because Lev's mom saw her child through the lens of the failings of not being orthodox in following religion, and so it was more utilitarian and role-based. You didn't follow the expectations of religion, and you have failed me, and also it's going to and I'm going to be judged. It's going to be they believe that their sins, their children's sins, will also affect them, and so it's strictly like, how has what you done affect me? How does it's strictly like it's utilitarian, right? And whereas Yara, it's I care about you as a person. Are you okay? And it's humanity, and that's where Yara is different from her mom. She cares about the person, and Yara used to be like her mom, and she has found humanity by caring about Lev as a person first. And I love that, and that is also what Abby has to do as a person. She has to find humanity in people, and she finds it in Lev, and that is where she finds her growth.
Well said. Yeah, I think that Lev's journey is really tragic. That like you said, that he lost everything in like a day and a half, everything that used to matter to him. And I think that there's a level of maybe guilt that comes with that too, because it happened because of a choice that he made. You know, and not saying whether it was the wrong choice or a right choice. You know, Lev was doing what he felt like he needed to do and to help him to be the person that he wanted to be, that he needed to be. But he made a choice. He shaved his head and because of that had to run away. And a lot of these things happened because of that. And obviously the Seraphites are not super justified in reacting the way that they did to Lev doing those things. Like they reacted poorly. That was not how you should handle that. But it's like, there's got to be in the back of his mind a little bit forever that's like, I made this choice and these bad things happened because of that choice I made. So I wonder how that affects his day to day,
Yeah. So, Luke, I know that you, to the degree, if you're interested in talking about it, I know that you also grew up in a religious community, and you also came out to us and to your family. Was there friction there? What was that experience like? I know that your family was more open about it.
Yeah, my family was really open about it. My family was really great. But I think all of us growing up where we grew up, we all knew people who didn't have as great a support system around them. I think anytime you're thinking specifically about Lev, right? Like, it wasn't just that Lev shaved his head. Lev also told people that he was a boy now, right? And in the Seraphites, that also was not super okay. That doesn't jive with their dogma. And Lev was just arranged to be married to an elder. I mean, there's a lot of things that Lev couldn't get on board with that were expected of him. And I think any of us that grow up in a community where we feel like we can't meet the expectation or what's expected of us, and we feel like that makes us wrong because of it, I think we can all empathize with that feeling. I mean, yeah, I grew up in a specifically religious community, but that's not the only example of how we deal with this. When we feel like we just can't meet expectations because of X, Y, or Z about us, that makes us feel like we're broken or we're wrong. I think what's especially tragic to me about this is Lev wanting to go back to see his mother, and obviously their discussion not ending up the way that he would have wanted. Like, I don't think Lev wanted his mother to be dead, right? No matter how a parent or a loved one reacts when you divulge really sensitive or really vulnerable information to them, like, you never want it to certainly not end up in death, but you never want it to end up badly. You never want it to kill a relationship. You never want it to end and sever a relationship to a loved one or to a community. I think Lev going back to the Seraphites as much as anything, I think he wanted to rectify and have something redeemable about that relationship, even if he was ultimately going to leave, even if he knew he didn't have a future there on the island with his mother, with his community. I think he just wanted some closure to that relationship, for him to know that he wasn't broken. He was different. He wasn't going to meet the expectation that was made for him, but that was going to be okay. His mother dying is the thing that really kills me about this whole thing.
Killed her too, but
well, I also wanted to point out that my entire childhood, at least of everybody that I knew, you were the most religiously devout person in my peer group, and that's interesting because, like, I mean, traditionally the trope is like, if you're part of that minority community and you come out, well, it's like, well, that religious community doesn't accept me, so I just reject that community and I move on. But religion and spirituality was still a part of you to the same degree that it feels like Lev still very much wanted to be a Seraphite, still very much wanted to be a practicing religious and spiritual figure. And so Lev didn't reject the religion rejected Lev. And I mean, you still love religion, you still have spiritual.
I'm still a deeply spiritual person. I still believe in God. I still believe a lot of the things I used to believe. Mm-hmm. But I think where I feel like I empathize with Lev, like you said, it more felt like a rejection on me, like I felt like there was something wrong with me. It was my fault. I was the broken one. I was the wrong one. And what I came to terms with is that I wasn't the broken or the wrong one. I couldn't be something I'm not. And I think for Lev, like there's a degree of, there's this degree of dissonance. There was a lot that he loved about the way that and where he grew up. I'm sure there was a lot of good things he took from his upbringing. And I think it's easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater when that pendulum swings. It swings hard, right? And all of a sudden, I know in my case, it could have just been, well, if I don't believe this one thing is true anymore because that can't jive with me, then that means nothing is good, nothing is real. And then the pendulum swings all the way to the other side, and then you have no compass. You have no community. You have no guiding moral philosophy. If you throw everything good out because of one revelation or because of something you feel about yourself or about your community, I think that's a real shame. But people certainly people like me feeling that way about my exodus away from where I was raised and where I've kind of found myself, I think it's important to recognize that we all find good in the places where we are, and that doesn't mean we have to agree 100% with everything all the time just because we grew up with it. But I mean, like, what are you going to do, Lev? She's your mother. What are you going to do, Luke? Like, this is your family. These are the friends you grew up with. This is the community you grew up with. And so you find your way to be okay with it. You find your way to be healthy, but it's always going to be a part of you. It's always going to be part of your history, your story, and your family. And it's always going to be a part of you because the people you love, they're a part of it. And so I think there's no amount of like physical distance Lev could get from the Seraphites, from the island, that would make it okay unless he was able to rectify the relationships involved, and find good to come out of it and carry good with him. And so the fact that his mother dies out of all this, I especially find it heartbreaking. I've known people who've left home for lots of reasons, who weren't ever able to make restitution with their families for various reasons. But for Lev, I think Lev was trying to do the right thing. I think he was trying to find closure. This whole story is so tragic to me and so very sad. My own like personal feelings about my life aside, I just find it so especially sad.
Right. You're going to hear a lot of me over time express a lot of cynicism about religion, but I also fundamentally understand all religions provide a moral framework, growth, answers, and connection. That's like what religion is. And men especially need a moral framework, or they need something that gives them guardrails. And if you don't have it, you end up pretty aimless. And then we've seen what that does to society. And right now it's pretty bleak, right? Gen Z is kind of falling apart without this, without these guardrails. I'm just going to call it for what it is. And it doesn't have to be religion.
Boomer.
It doesn't have to be religion.
Shan hates all Gen Z. Wait, before we started recording, Shan was making a point, and he was doing this. He had his phone in his hand, and he was shaking it like a 75-year-old grumpy person.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be religion. It could be like military service, or just like some kind of community that instills values and gives you clarity, and it gives you just like absolute focus in your life for growth and all this stuff. Like everybody needs that, and for all of us, we like the freest way to do it is religion. That's just the truth, right?
No,
it's free. It's accessible.
It's not very free.
Okay, honestly, it costs you 10% of your net income, but other than that,
yeah, you need a compass. People need a compass, and a lot of like some people can make their own compasses, and I think that's great. But like a lot of people, I find a lot of value in finding that compass kind of outside of my own personal thing. Like, obviously I go to church and stuff, and that's great for me. That works really well for me. And I find a lot of value in kind of having that help guide my moral compass. And it works really well for me. So you need that compass. Everybody does.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of frustrated with religion, but like I have a moral compass because of it. And I still have the moral compass regardless of what I do from here on out, and I will be forever grateful that I have it.
Yeah, I think having just an end goal or working towards something naturally provides that compass. Religion, you're always working towards something. There's always some growth opportunity. There's always some way to do better, and that's what provides that moral compass. I mean, there's the trope, I don't know what you want to call it, of just like, oh, atheist, how do you have, how are you a good person if you're not fearing God? Which is ridiculous, obviously. But it's like, yeah, humans, as we work towards something, as we work towards bettering ourselves, that moral compass comes along and it naturally aligns with what our goals are. And for most people, those goals are admirable. I think there's a small sect of sociopaths that, their goals aren't necessarily admirable. Where their moral compass
they need
strays.
someone outside of themselves to help them with their moral compass. We can't leave them to their own devices.
Yeah, they need a better cult.
Guess what? I hate fear in religion, but some people need the shit scared out of them to do what's right.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. Like, I hate it, but some people, that's the only thing they respond to is a stick, right? Like, it's acceptable in that it works on 50% to 70% of the population. It's just the truth. A small segment respond to love, and you just need fear for the rest of them.
I want to go back to what Luke was saying. I think this is one of those instances with Lev where two things can be true. Where Lev, I think, still deeply believes Seraphite doctrine. I keep on using that word. But there's this one thing that he just doesn't fit into. And I think his life would be vastly different if he was not chosen to be a wife of an elder. At 12 years old? Pretty
super uncool, by the way.
Maybe he could have,
pedophiles.
Maybe he still could have found a place in that Seraphite community if they weren't trying to pigeonhole him into something that he didn't want. It says that he wanted to be a hunter like Yara, and that he didn't want to be married off to an elder when he was a child, because gross. Sorry, I interrupted you, Tucker. Go ahead.
Jerk.
What I have to say is inherently more important than what Tucker has to say.
Obviously.
Obviously.
But I love, I this time around playing the game, I have a lot of admiration towards Lev, where he's taking a pretty bold step to try to save part of his identity that has been his entire life up until, 3-4 days ago, when they leave because he shaved his head. And I can't imagine that struggle this is who I am as myself, but it doesn't fit with everything I believe. And that's why I really appreciate Luke's perspective here, because I think out of all of us, he has been the closest to feeling that way that Lev feels in this situation. And having to kill your own mother because of it is just...
Well, the mother
crazy.
Tripped and fell and died. Like, Lev didn't kill.
I thought he did.
His mother.
Lev pushes.
Pushed?
Lev. When they're talking, it says that I just tried to push her off of me. So I mean, I don't think Lev was trying to kill her, but she was attacking Lev, and Lev pushed her off, and she died because of the push. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that sucks. But anyway.
That does suck. Killing your own mom, that's a bummer. Yeah.
That really
We've all been there.
sucks.
Yeah, that thing that everybody knows about? Matricide? Is that what it's called when you kill your mother? Matricide? I did it.
Matricide,
Give me a Chiron.
patricide,
I deserve a big word thing.
fratricide for killing brothers. And I don't know about sisters.
Sistercide.
Sister-sized. Sister-sized.
Mon frere. I don't know why I know what does Job say? Is like, I don't know why I know that brother. I don't know why I know the word for brother in French. I took 4 years of Spanish.
After
Mi hermano.
Who's hermano?
Oh. All right, so you end up taking off from this house, and it's time to leave Haven. and you encounter like it's starting to get dark, the storm's picking up, and you encounter the wolves and you encounter Isaac. Jeffrey
we don't really touch on this, but the wolves are invading the island as you are there. Isaac's
super fun time to be on the
day
island.
One is coming in.
You see the boat
just to
as
set the
you're
stage
getting on the island.
Yeah, set the stage here of like, this is not a surprise that the wolves are there, but
It's a really eventful 3 days for Seattle.
Yeah. So I love this encounter. Just you get in Yara gets into a scuffle and then immediately gets shot. Again, pretty unceremonious, which really sucks. It's like you get through all of this hassle of like cutting off her arm just to have her get popped by a wolf.
I mean, her death is arguably a little bit more ceremonial. She gets shot in the stomach. There's like a little bit of a touching scene for the Last of Us universe, where I think, this one took me off guard because it was a little bit more ceremonial, which I think Yara deserves after getting her arm cut off. And
so did Manny.
Well, like you kind of assume if somebody has been saved from death that they have plot armor until the end of a story. Not in this, right? This reminds me of like The Walking Dead when Steve Yeun's character gets saved and then dies.
Spoiler alert!
Episodes later. I said Steve Yeun. Nobody knows who that is.
Everybody knows who he is.
How long ago was that? Like, it's fine.
It is fair game.
Yeah. 15 years.
I was going to watch it, but now I'm not.
Now that I know, Negan beats him over the head with a baseball bat 400
Whoa!
times.
You mean Denny from Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, I hate that show.
That was the last episode I ever watched. It's like, this show sucks. I tried.
Of Grey's Anatomy?
No.
I was talking about Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is a terrible show.
Walking Dead, it's like you get like 2 great episodes, a lot of vamping, and then 2 great episodes. And even the great episodes, it's like carbon copies of the previous season's great episodes. So it's like, it's just circles.
Well, if it worked before, it'll work again.
Yeah. It's like,
but anyways, I love this part with the confrontation with Isaac and Yara's sacrifice, right? Ooh. Like, it's just, I mean, it's very, very sad, but it's very well done. It's nice because it kind of comes to a head. Like, this is the moment. And at first, Isaac is kind of talk to Abby, like, we'll deal with you back home, is what he says to her. So showing at least in like verbal intent to be like, you can come back with us. You'll be punished, of course, but like, you can still come back with us, which is like, I'm wondering how much of that Isaac really means. Like, is Isaac really going to let Abby?
Chamber.
I was going to say, she's going to be tortured or killed, right? When there's no way Isaac just lets her get away with all. She's like, he found her with two Seraphite kids, and it's like, and she's defending them. I don't know. I don't think Isaac lets her back.
I would. My counter argument is simply in his acting. Jeffrey Wright, phenomenal, right? There's a moment where he's pointing the gun, he's staring down that gun, and he starts counting, and by like the last number, he like winces, right? And I think that kind of gives away that he does not want to kill her. And that tells me he would not want to torture her either. He genuinely likes her. He genuinely cares about her. And he hates that she's gone this far and wants to bring her back. I think he wouldn't do that. Or he would do it, but it would be to correct her. It wouldn't be to torture her to death.
Or at least he hesitates, even if that's not entirely true, at least he hesitates long enough because right here and now, this is not how he wants to do this with Abby. This is not the way to solve the differences, issues with Abby, is to kill her here.
She was his heir apparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Isaac needs to make an example of Abby to squash any other not listening to Isaac.
Yeah, killing her right now doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, that's not solving it.
You know, that acting also maybe tells me that too, Tucker. It's like, don't make me kill you in front of them, but I have to because I have to maintain this power.
Yeah, there's this power grab, and then if we get back, you're going to be, strung up and to make sure nobody tries to go against what I say again.
Right. This would be playing out very differently if not everybody was watching me right now.
Yeah.
Swoop in Yara for the save, though.
No, so I think the wolves just some Seraphite off screen just shoots him dead. So some Deus Ex Machina there. But that's not even really what's important there. What's important is that Abby stayed her ground, protected Lev, and then runs off. At this moment, she has chosen Lev and she's rejected the wolves. And so I need to ask, what is this moment to Abby? What is this what is this inflection point?
So this, for me, I think that there's a lot of parallels between Abby's journey and Joel's journey in the first game. We just get a more condensed version with Abby. But for me, this is the baby girl moment. In the first game, when Joel calls Ellie baby girl, that's when the shift happens in his brain and he's all in. And I think this is Abby's baby girl moment. After Yara dies and, Lev shoots Isaac so that they can have enough time to kind of run away. Isaac doesn't die, but he shoots, wounds Isaac so that they can run away. And then they get back there and Lev is really mad and yells at Abby and goes, "Those were your people." And Abby yells back, "You're my people." And that's her baby girl moment. That's when it changes. The wolves are officially Abby's enemy now. And Lev and Yara, well, not Yara anymore, but Lev is like, "You are my people. It's my ride or die. You're it now." And the first time I played this game, I had a really hard time with this part that comes right after where you're fighting the wolves, because you have to kill some of them. I was like, these were Abby's friends just a few days ago. But then now that I've played again and I've taken time to really dissect these scenes and to really try to understand Abby's character growth, it makes perfect sense. The wolves have pushed her out. They have, they've done actions to her and she's done actions to them that have made them enemies. This is Abby's baby girl moment. This is where she's all in on Lev and where the wolves are officially impeding her ability to escape with her new family.
Yeah, they are innocent, and she now has to protect them. She is a protector type, just like Joel. That's her parallel to Joel's character, ironically.
And muscle mass.
And muscle mass.
But all characters in a story that are well written in a character-driven story are defined by their wants versus needs, and they start with, "This is what I want," and by the end, they don't know what they need. But a well-written story reveals what they need, and they have to choose what they need over what they wanted. It doesn't have to go that way necessarily. Sometimes they get what they want and what they need. Sometimes they get neither. The formula can be all over the place. But in this, for her to achieve her growth as a character, she makes a lot of pivotal decisions that reject what she started with what she wanted, and it's revealed what she needs, and it realigns all of her priorities, and that says, now I have grown as a person. And we can get through all of these decisions that define what she needs. But in this moment, I think one of her defining character traits is loyalty. She is a very loyal person to the wolves. It defines her as a human being, and it's what's led her to rise up in the ranks to Isaac, and that loyalty has also blinded her to the humanity of the Seraphites. And in this moment, she has seen Lev as a human being, and has seen the pain and suffering and vulnerability of Lev and the innocence, and has endeared herself to Lev and needs to protect Lev. This unlocks her compassion and helps her connect, and finally bridges that gap. Whereas before, when they started on day one, it was a complete wall, didn't understand them, rejected them. She now has compassion, she now has connection, and that destroys her loyalty and severs it to the wolves. She rejects that part of her personality, and this decision defines her compassion, and she has moved on. She has grown.
Well put. I agree. Yeah.
That's part one of her character growth. She has a couple others. It's fantastic. All right, but then you leave Haven, and just like a lot of fantastic moments where they do a lot of excellent framing as you're like getting down into Haven and it's on fire, and they do like some moments where they like guide you up, and like there's framing of the housing that's torn apart, and like you see Haven on fire, right? And
Fire.
It's just fire at a Haven.
Fire.
Fire at a
Very weird
Haven.
place for a fire.
It's a very weird place to go on fire.
I love every time they like set up these shots. It's very well done. This was another moment where it's like as you're working your way down there, you know, the part where there's a shootout between Seraphites and the wolves. There's another part with like tall grass where you can just kind of like go between them. And then it was excellent. There's this one moment where like you get right up to the barbed wire fence, and like I throw pipe bomb in, and I blow up one person, and then I just do a yeep moment. I stand up and I run in, and I just like run around the corner, and I jump on the horse and I run. So I pipe bombed one person and I ran off on the horse. It was incredible.
You can just leave. You can just leave. Again, I did the opposite. No one was alive. I had bullets to burn and things to explode, and I was gonna kill everybody. Which is exactly what I did.
Nope, I just, like a coward, I just like crawled on my belly between everybody doing a shootout. It was so great.
Hashtag no survivors.
Any other favorite encounters in this section?
I mean, when you fight the big guy with the like scimitar, and you just have
the
your
brute.
fisticuffs to beat him.
The brute, yeah, crawling out of the burning barn and seeing Lev get beat on, and the tension that they build leading up to the encounter themselves is really great. It reminded me of encountering the bloater, and you're behind the wall, and then the bloater just like breaks through the wall when you're Joel and Ellie. It reminded me of that, except Abby's like crawling under wood and she can't get out, and you see Lev in the background, and Lev's on the ground, and you think Lev's gonna die, and then you have to get your backpack, and your backpack is stuck, and then you can't get your backpack out, and then you're backpackless, and you have to get into the encounter anyway. All that tension leading into the fight because you care so deeply about their relationship now. I love the way they build the tension leading up to the actual battle.
She's really like effective. Stuck under the wood, and she's like, I have to get there, but I can't. It's slow, and she's like, this is painful.
Yeah. I really like the losing of the backpack, because I feel like the backpack is all of Abby's stuff. It's her gear, but it's not just that, it's the player's gear. You have acquired ammo and supplies, and it's all in that backpack. And so it causes this cool moment that when Abby is like tugging on her backpack and she looks at Lev and then looks back at her backpack and like, I can't have both, and then lets go of her backpack. And it's just, it's showing that like all of this stuff that you've spent time gathering as a player that has been sacrificed in order to save this character. And so it's this like, it seems silly and little, like it's just her stuff, right? But it's this connection to the player that's like, this is more important. Abby is leaving that stuff behind, that part of her behind, so that she can move forward with this character. And then she doesn't have anything. You fight you fight that guy, and you and Lev go, and with nothing, there's no backpack, no supplies, not a single weapon, just her fists.
Also, this guy can just take a beating.
That guy,
knife to the face, and is like still coming at you.
Scythe to the face, scythe across the back, arrow into the shoulder.
This is what the Black Knight
wrote down
and
all
Monty
of
Python should have been.
Exactly. I wrote down all of the. Hang on. I said, what is this guy made of? He's got a huge stab wound on the back, and then he's got a crazy gash to his face, multiple lacerations from where you're hitting him with your melee weapon, an arrow through the chest / shoulder. It's like almost his chest, like an inch the other way, and it would have been straight through his heart. And then, hang on. Oh, I lost it. Through the chest and shoulder, and he's just still coming out. His jaw's like hanging off of his face, basically, and he's like making these crazy gurgling sounds as he's like coming after you. It's like, what is this guy made out of? Like,
do you guys remember the movie Wild Wild West with
Wild West?
Wicked Wild Wild,
yeah.
Wild
It's
Wild,
so
Wild Wild West. Jim West,
worst.
Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada. So anyway, there's the guy that's at the bottom of the spider that Will Smith tries to kick him in the nuts, and he's like made out of metal. I'm pretty sure that's what this guy is based off of.
They just recast
Neil
it
Druckmann watched Wild Wild West. And he's like, I gotta incorporate that guy into this game.
I love the idea of Neil Druckmann taking inspiration from Wild Wild West, the world's best, most story-rich movie in the world.
For a moment, I just thought of the Juggernaut, like I'm the Juggernaut bit, and I thought that's what this was.
Yep, exactly that.
I love that they you give them cuts right on the exact spot that the scars actually give themselves scars. Did we ever find out what that was symbolic of, like why they cut themselves there?
So they disfigure themselves. Fans. Yeah, so they have
Do you
to
want to know how
themselves.
they got those scars?
Yeah.
Right,
no, they
on,
mentioned
Tucker.
earlier on that they have to disfigure themselves because they're imperfect in the sight of their prophet.
Oh, okay. Well, now they're
What's that?
imperfect in the sight of me.
Yeah.
Ugly. Hashtag pass.
Yeah.
I'm doing lots of
just like-
hashtags today, you guys.
Hashtag-
Do people still use hashtags? Am I dating? Am I an old person?
Hashtag. Do we still hashtag?
They don't do it in person.
Hashtag.
IRL.
Hashtag question mark.
Hashtag.
I had a perfect melee encounter here. I've never had one like that before. Like every time he had like 3 swings, I avoided all of them. Like I didn't get hit once. It was amazing.
Wow.
I'm so proud of myself. Brag. It's
Proud of you.
pretty stupid to
Wow.
brag about
Snaps
this
for
kind of
Shan.
stuff,
Snaps
He
for
did it.
Shan.
Hey,
This is one battle
did.
where you can't just leave. Shan had to actually fight. Yeah.
All right, but I love. Okay, so then you get on the boat. It's very subtle. There's some acting here where Lev holds his arm, and I believe this is like an indication of Lev thinking about Yara because Yara had her arm chopped off. I believe that's what Lev is thinking of in this moment.
having phantom scratches for his dead
He's
sister.
like, man, I miss Yara. Looking at his arm.
I really miss Yara. I think that's what it is. I don't know.
I didn't notice that, but I like the idea of he just every time he looks at his arm, it's like, oh.
Yara.
Aw.
Remember when I had a sister? Oh.
And remember when I cut off her
I
arm?
mean,
Aw.
you have this like giant like Yara dies. You don't have any time to think of it. You're running all the way between there and running off the island. This is the first moment where you have the time to yourself to think about. The first thing you're thinking about is your sister is dead.
Yeah, he hasn't he hasn't had any time to grieve. There's been no grieving process. So
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah. All right. So let's elucidate the timeline here. This is how I've written it out. So syncing up Ellie's timeline with Abby's timeline between days 1 through 3. Jesse and Ellie hear Tommy's shooting when they split off. So Tommy is having a shootout with Abby and Manny. So then Jesse runs off to go find Tommy, and Ellie runs off to the aquarium. Ellie then swims across, and Tommy gets knocked into the water with Abby. Abby runs off to the island. Tommy and Jesse then presumably meet up off camera. Ellie runs into the aquarium. She kills everybody, including Alice. Jesse and Tommy then pop in right after that, and they find her and they said everything's okay, but we have to go. And then Abby returns from the island, sees them all dead, and then everything syncs back up. You're at the theater, and Abby starts shooting people.
Messing
Right?
stuff up.
But like, I love how they do this, right? Because like, I mean, it's not subtle, obviously, but like, you have this like long thing with Ellie where it's like, I'm going on this, I'm gonna go kill Abby, and it's all in your head. Like, I'm going to do this to get revenge for Joel. And right at the moment you're about to have this encounter with Abby, twist, I'm gonna play as Abby, and I'm going to then fight Ellie. Like this whole subversion of perspective, and you never get the encounter you think you're going to get. They force you to fight Ellie instead. Just masterclass.
Yeah, there's some really cool things that happen at the theater. that I wanted to talk about. One, it went over my head completely that Abby and Lev think it's Tommy who is doing all this stuff that killed all her friends, when really it's Ellie. As a player, you obviously know it's Ellie. So that threw me for a loop this time, because it's probably very obvious, but I just never connected those dots.
Yeah, well,
so
Abby
Ellie,
doesn't know that until she encounters Tommy, like as he's sniping you, and then Abby's like, "Oh no, this is which is something you don't think about as a player." But then,
where Abby, I think, is about to kill Ellie.
Oh yeah,
and Lev.
Let's talk about Abby getting
like,
back to the aquarium.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I forgot to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right. So after returning from the island after the Haven encounter, Abby gets to the aquarium with Lev and sees all of her friends murdering the dog, and she throws up, and I don't know. They've probably been dead for a few hours. This is her dark night of the soul, which is like the same setting where Ellie had her dark night of the soul, if you want to call it that, because she realized she killed Mel and Mel was pregnant, and that was the line she never was supposed to cross, because to her character, it was important to preserve innocent life, because that is what she never got to do by creating a cure for humanity, and Joel took that from her. So when she killed Mel, she killed innocent life in not allowing a baby, an innocent life, to be born into the world. She crossed the line accidentally, and she spirals and has a panic attack. Now, Abby returns and all of her friends are dead, and she has her complete lapse, and she collapses on the ground. She realized, like, you play 3 days after all of this, and you kind of forget, like, oh yeah, consequences are coming for me. Like, she killed Joel forever ago, and you don't even think about Ellie coming all the way back for you, because that was forever ago. She doesn't even know that Ellie is rampaging all the way through Seattle at this point. She hasn't heard much about this until, like, Manny starts mentioning it, I believe, when Tommy's around.
Mentions what these trespassers are coming through and they're killing everybody. But I love this scene. Like, Laura Bailey's performance here is spectacular. I love to watch her discovering those bodies, and then you see this like anger and sadness in her face. I guess it's mostly this sadness in her face, and then the camera kind of pans around and you get to see her face, and you get to just watch her expression change from grief to rage. And it's just this, and it's great because it shows exactly like what Abby is going to do next. Of course, she's going to go and try to like find justice for her friends that got killed. And I love it. And also, as a side note to the devs, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that the lockers that I opened to look for supplies as Ellie were opened when I came back as like, is that possible that they paid attention to that? Like, I'm pretty sure that they were the same lockers that I opened as Ellie, and then I came back as Abby and was like, shut up. Like, that can't be real. Like,
screw you guys. That's impressive. I mean, honestly, it's like you just keep like a JSON of all the flags of all the lockers that have been opened, and it's just like a Boolean count of like all those things.
But still,
but nobody does that except like
the fact that they thought
for
to
like
do it
Bethesda
at all.
and Starfield, right? But that was like a novel concept, right? Like, nobody does that stuff. That's insane. That's batshit crazy. Good for you guys.
Well, yeah, they're putting grass underneath cars. Fully.
Yeah, it made me very happy to see those same lockers, sans supplies. Yeah.
Good for you guys. Very impressed. So, so she runs off impulsively to the theater. We get to see her character growth tested one last time, right? That's what this is all about. See if she's learned anything. So, she kills Jesse impulsively, so I don't think that that's really a failure of her character at this point.
That's 1 for 1. That's revenge.
He was coming at her with a scalpel, so... You know.
Yeah, exactly. She did what she had to do, but that was self-defense. And then we get into the showdown in the theater.
Well, she shoots Tommy in the head too.
Yeah. How was Tommy not dead?
Spoilers. Well, the first time I played the game, I totally thought Tommy was dead. No, she shoots him like in the head. She shoots him. She like knocks him down and shoots him in the head.
Yeah, like on the ground. She just was like, bam.
And the first time I played the game, I was like, she totally does.
Yeah, she shoots him in the leg, smashes him in the face, shoots him in the leg. That's why he gimps in the later game.
Well, she does both. Like he gets shot in the head.
I had a note that Tommy was unceremoniously killed, and then later on, I'm like, oh, he's alive, because I totally thought Abby just shot him in the head as he was on the ground. She has an execution style. She like throws him off to the side, and then just pops him.
Obviously.
So he gets shot in the face. So it's not like it kind of grazes.
I remember him having
his eye thing. Face.
Yeah. So
but I thought that was
he gets
from him
shot.
Getting smashed in the face.
It's a bullet to the noggin, but not a deadly one. I thought the same thing. I was like, Tommy's dead. Like I couldn't believe. I was so mad.
Yeah, she has to think that she killed him at least, because that's why she doesn't come back for him. All right, but
then you have the encounter with Ellie, which is amazing and terrible, and Ellie is a sneaky little turd. Like
worst AI in the game,
man.
So I figured this out with Ellie. I died a few times, but then figuring out where and when she was going to plant the bombs, that was the go at point. In that section when she starts planting them, it's like, oh, she's planting them, I'll just wait around this corner, she'll fiddle around for a bit, and then just go and bottle the face. And I felt like I was cheating the game, because the first time I played it, I died a billion times because I thought I was sneaky enough, thought I was close enough, and then she just pulls a machete out of nowhere and just slices you in your six-pack, and you die.
You can never let her plant more than 2, or you're just dead.
Then you can't move anywhere. Yeah. Well,
she's very good.
There's a couple details I really love about this battle, is because it when you're playing as Ellie, you are incentivized to be sneaky and crafty and use your tools. And so it gives you kind of an image of how Ellie fights. And then when you're playing as Abby and you have to fight Ellie, she's very sneaky and crafty, and she uses her tools. And it makes it feel completely genuine to, it almost feels like you're fighting yourself. And I know it's not, it's just an AI thing, but it feels like you're fighting a previous version of you, where you're like, oh, I remember doing that or being that or playing that way. And it also, if you get too close, Ellie one shot kills you. She machetes you and you just kind of die. Or she shotgun blasts you in the face and you just kind of die, which is what she did when you were controlling her. And I love how when she's running around and you can hear in the back, you can hear the same crafting sounds that when you're playing, it's and even there's different ones for if she's making a Molotov cocktail where it's like gook, 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 where it makes the little burbly sound. And it's I just love listening to her skitter around and be sneaky. And you can hear her crafting and making stuff and getting ready to get the drop on you. And I just love it.
I love when she starts doing shrapnel bombs and Abby's like, what the hell?
What is she making?
It's got a bush. What the hell?
Just she's scrappy and she's evil and she's fast. You feel powerful as Ellie, but when she's on the opposite side, she's sinister. And you see her for the little evil demon that she is. You're like,
she's just popping her head up, and then she runs away, and
now it's now I understand how she survived as long as she has.
Sneaky, she crafty. Yeah, I think it's such a fun battle. I mean, it's a very difficult battle, but it's hard to get the drop on Ellie, which makes sense because when you were playing as Ellie, it was hard to get the drop on you because you were so sneaky.
It's Batman vision versus Batman vision.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I'm kind of done with in this game is how often you fall through floors. Happens way too often.
I will say though,
termites are running rampant in this world, and
if there's ever anyone that is capable of punching someone through a floor, it's probably Abby. I just love that first time when you grab Ellie and you slam her on the floor and the ground cracks all around her and you're like, oh damn.
All right, so then after you've attacked her a few times, Dina comes in and you've like punched Ellie in the face several times. She's bloody and she's like knocked Dina down, and has she shot her once or something?
So I think Dina shoots Abby with an arrow in the shoulder, which gets Abby off of Ellie, and then
Abby's
rushes
taking
at
the arrow
Abby
out and is going to stab Dina in the face.
She's got it held up to her throat. Yeah.
She's gonna saw Dina's head off with like a Rambo knife. It's gonna be gross, and Abby's going like, this is the worst of her. This is worse than what she did to Joel almost. I don't know, which is worse.
Yes. So I love this part because this is where Abby comes back from the dead. She is going full on beat up Joel. I don't care that Dina's pregnant. Screw you, Ellie. I'm going to kill you. Screw you, Dina, for shooting me with an arrow. I'm going to kill you. And then Lev, her little angel on her shoulder, conscious, comes in and is like, yo, bro, what you doing? This is not
verbatim.
Who you are.
Remember that I think you're a good person?
Yep. Exactly.
I guess Yara thought she was a good person. Lev has yet to say that.
But just the face that Lev gives her is just like, Abby, get your shit together, girl. Get your priorities straight.
Get your priorities straight.
Yeah.
Well, I love the dialogue leading up to that moment too, because Abby's got Dina by the throat. Like she's got Dina, who is unconscious, and she's got the arrow held to her throat, about to slit her throat. And then Ellie gurgles out through blood and, broken nose probably. And it's just, she's able to say she's pregnant. And then Abby goes, good. And then starts to kind of gear up to slit her throat. And then Lev shouts out and he goes, Abby. And then once Abby looks at Lev, and it's this great moment, because in this moment, Abby, by slitting Dina's throat, she's about to sacrifice all of the growth, all of the inner healing that she's done. Because I love the symbology that we came up with for the Rat King, but that we recognized for the Rat King last time. Her bad dreams are connected to this demon inside of her when she kills the Rat King, and it quells those demons. And I think that, if she kills Dina in this moment, she goes back to that. Those bad dreams come back. All of that character growth, all of that healing that she's done gets reversed. And Lev is there to remind her of that and say, hey, this isn't you anymore. And I love it.
Yeah. And yeah, saving Dina is one thing because Dina is pregnant, but she also walks away from Ellie after Lev says, you're not the kind of person to kill a pregnant person. And I thought that was an interesting choice, but I think that's because it's, hey, Dina's almost dead. You have to leave someone alive to save her. I think that's why.
I think it's just Abby breaking the cycle. I think Abby is just saying, okay, you know what? This is not who I am anymore. I don't want to see you again. This is over. We're even. Let's go.
I don't know. Lev was there for the death. It was, don't kill the pregnant person.
I read it as she spares, Lev stops her. She spares Dina, and then she spares Ellie as well. And I'm thinking so if Abby kills Ellie, what does Dina do after that? Is Abby thinking that, will this cycle continue? If I kill Ellie, will Dina come after me? If I kill Dina, Ellie will come after me. If I kill both of them, I'll return to the monster that I used to be. If I kill neither of them, maybe they don't come after me and I can keep all of this growth and healing. And so I think that Abby does a quick calculus in her brain to figure out that this is the only path that will let her potentially keep the growth that she's undergone and keep the healing that she's found for herself. That's how I pictured it anyways.
Yeah, so this is another one of her wants versus needs. She started as a character that wants revenge, and she wants revenge for her father by killing Joel. And by the end, she needs redemption because it's blocking her healing and growth, and she is like a stunted character, and it's just destroying her. And so this is a moment where she's being tested once again. She is given an opportunity to return to the cycle and take another life and make the same decision she made at the beginning of the game. Do I kill and continue this revenge because she killed my friends? Do I continue it? And by abandoning Dina and Ellie, especially at Lev's request, it breaks the cycle. She had the choice and she stopped it. So she has supplanted a want for a need, and now she has gone through her second core character journey. And arguably there's like a lot of like little ones, but this is probably one. I mean, this is obviously one of the most important. She starts as a vengeful character, she grows, and she gets redeemed for it. I mean, arguably I think she's redeemed by this.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the like wrapping up of her redemption arc, because it's a very similar situation to Joel. You had somebody come in, kill your loved ones. I'm going to go and make it even and get justice. But I think from the Joel experience, she realizes revenge isn't justice. This did nothing for me. I'm still empty inside. I'm still
having the nightmares.
Still having the nightmares. Still, like, things did not get better. And it ended up straining all these relationships with my friends. And I think so at this point, I know the outcome already. I need to break that. I'm no longer revengeful Abby, because revengeful Abby doesn't have a happy ending. I'm now redeemed Abby, where I can go on and live my life and actually have a life, which we see a little bit later on.
I would argue that her killing Joel was still justice. Maybe like the extent to which she carried it out.
So I think the way she killed him.
Yeah.
It's the brutality, and it's like the evil that was inside of her. Just like and carrying everybody with her. Like maybe the extent to which she carried out her version of justice carried too much weight with it. And it was too dark. But she was still justified in taking his life, or at least getting revenge for it. I don't know. It's complicated.
I think one of the big things I'm taking away from this playthrough is that that's really not just. I mean, you can call it justice, but it doesn't really fix anything. The events still happen. She's still dead inside. She's not truly healed. It's where she turns to this mercy side where she's actually healed.
If you keep enacting an eye for an eye way of justice, then sooner or later you're going to be walking around in a world where no one has eyes. Like you just that like the cycle just never ends. If every time there's a perceived injustice or slight or actual justified injustice or slight that you enact by seeking revenge or seeking, violent justice, then sooner like that cycle never stops. And so unless someone chooses to stop it, which is what Abby did. She chose to stop it.
Maybe that is one of the defining elements of justice, is if she had closure and if she was completed by it. And because it actually exacerbated it and made it worse, then it wasn't justice, because for it to be justice, she had to be the one that was made whole, because it was something that was taken from her. And because she wasn't the one that was made whole by killing him, then it wasn't justice for her. So this wasn't justice.
Yeah, I think
like
Jesus
him
was
dying was
when he said turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
I think that's an actual, where you're actually finding yourself being whole is that mercy is. I mean, I think that's a common theme in a lot of IPs. I mean, we see it in The Hobbit with Bilbo not killing Gollum out of mercy because he felt bad for him, or it could have been right there. So I think there's really something to that, not on necessarily on a religious scale, but really it's stopping the cycle. I think is truly healing, taking the high road.
Yeah, justice is like restitution to the aggrieved party, but and so like I mean like in a world where he couldn't just be imprisoned to for her to be made whole, like an act of extreme brutality where he brutally murdered like 100 people, like I do think that she was justified in killing, but to be made made whole and for there to be full restitution, she had to have closure, and she didn't have it. So this wasn't justice for her. This wasn't the right way to get it. So yeah, this wasn't justice. We just figured it out.
We did it. We figured out all of it. We're so smart. We're the smartest.
Yeah. Prison reform, here we come. We're
problem so smart.
Solvers.
We're the smartest.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart.
Yes. So also I think one of her most important character wants versus needs is her strength versus needing self-forgiveness versus healing. So after this, and we'll get into it much later, is she leaves for Santa Barbara to start over, and she sees her strength stolen from her as she becomes emaciated because she gets imprisoned, and she becomes more vulnerable than ever, and she's just completely weak. We'll talk about that later, but like she sees her most defining character trait, at least externally, of strength just sapped from her, and she's like her strength was like her trying to shield herself from vulnerability. That's why she was doing it. She didn't want to portray vulnerability for her dad dying. That was her closing herself off from the...
Yeah, I'm excited to get to that part and just talking. I think there's a lot of cool visual representations of internal struggles and feelings in this next kind of end chapter of the game.
Yeah. She needs to make herself vulnerable to Lev. She needs to open up, and that will allow herself to fully heal by allowing herself to allow somebody else into her life. I think that's an important part of the healing process.
What's that jewelry commercial where it's like love can only enter the heart if it's open, and it's about a... Okay, never mind. Cut that.
No, keep it in. It's so sappy and dumb. It was a dumb comment, and Tuck was bad for making it.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Wait, to talk about... I don't remember a lot from like a lot of specific details of the parts that come next, and so I'm excited to play them again.
Yeah, I'm excited at the visual change that happens when you get to Santa Barbara. It's, I don't know, feels like a new game. It's fun.
Yeah, lots of clickers wearing tank tops and stuff. So.
Yeah,
it's a lighter tone, very like earth tone, like browns, and like just like tonally, it's like a lot lighter. It gets
what
like
Utah probably should have looked like.
Yeah. And just but like clickers wearing flip flops is how you listen to them. Just like.
but like I love how it immediately shifts when you get to like the what is it, Raiders, or like those awful people. Like I love
Bad
how
guys.
It just like desaturates to gray, and it's like, oh, this place is awful, and like I love how they play with the colors by the end of this game. But like also it's like how many acts are in this game? It feels like you can chunk it up in a lot of different ways, but like you could argue maybe this is like the fourth act, and then there's like a denouement. I don't know. Like it just keeps going. It's like it's a weirdly paced game.
Yeah, I don't know. How we're playing it this time, it feels like a lot shorter of a game. But I remember when I first played it, I was just trying to play through it as fast as I could because I have a huge backlog of games I wanted to get to. So it felt like a real slog the first time through and just emotionally draining. This time through, I think I understand Shan and Emily wanting to play this game more often because it's not as emotionally draining when it's kind of spaced out a little bit more and when you know what's going to happen.
It's still been moderately emotionally draining for me. It's a tough game to play, but I love it. Wait to talk about it next week.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Actually, it's really just in those places. Please listen to Eric's Indie Corner on Thursdays, and please tell your friends about us, because now we got 2 subscribers after 1 full month of getting no subscribers. So, it's an improvement.
Yeah. If you like what you hear, tell your friends. If you don't like what you hear, tell us so we can change it.
Yeah.
Hey,
we put the sad in sad dads.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloop-a-dee-blow.